Welcome to this section on AWS Lambda. So now we're about to go full hands-on into the serverless world. So what is serverless anyway? Well, serverless is a beautiful word. It's a new paradigm in which basically us, the developers, we don't have to manage servers anymore. They just deploy code. So we just deploy functions. And so initially when the serverless trend appeared, it was equivalent to FaaS, which also means function as a service. And this was pioneered by AWS Lambda, but now includes pretty much anything that doesn't require managing servers anymore. This could be databases, messaging, storage, etc. So we've seen already some serverless services in AWS, but they were not outlined as serverless. Usually when people say serverless in AWS, they mean AWS Lambda. Now, serverless does not mean that there are no servers. The name is a bit deceiving. Basically, serverless means that you don't see the servers, you don't manage them, you don't provision them, but trust me, someone is running servers for you. Now, you're happy because usually as a developer, the less you have to manage, the better you sleep at night. Now, serverless in AWS has many different forms. It has AWS Lambda and step functions for functions as a service, DynamoDB, AWS Cognito, API Gateway, Amazon S3, SNS and SQS, Kinesis, and Aurora Serverless. So in this list, we're going to view AWS Lambda in this section, DynamoDB in the next one, Cognito and API Gateway in future sections as well. Amazon S3, we've already seen this, and yes, definitely Amazon S3 was storage, and it was infinitely scalable. We don't have to manage any servers for the storage. So this was definitely a serverless offering. SNS and SQS are definitely serverless as well because we just said, hey, I want a topic, I want a queue, and they were pretty much infinitely scalable. And we, didn't manage any servers. AWS did that for us. Kinesis, I think it's serverless too because we just provision shards, but we don't see the servers behind the shards, so we can have data streams going through Kinesis. And Aurora Serverless is basically RDS. Instead, you just have this database itself. You don't see the servers, so it's RDS without creating a server pretty much, and that's why Amazon calls it serverless. So what does it as serverless look like in terms of architecture? Well, say we have static content, so we have a website and we have some static content we need to serve, such as HTML files, CSS files, whatever. Our users will get straight that from a S3 bucket or a CloudFront if you want in between. Then our users would maybe use a login, a social login, or email password login using Amazon Cognito. We'll learn this later on. Then they use a REST API, so they communicate to our server using a REST API managed by API Gateway. We'll learn this too. API Gateway maybe in the backend talks to your AWS Lambda functions, and we'll learn this in a section. And maybe our Amazon Lambda function will talk to our DynamoDB tables to basically store state and have a database that scales for us, and that is serverless. So this is what serverless looks like in AWS. This section and the future ones are dedicated to understanding how serverless works. It is a huge part at the exam, so it's really good for you to understand how these paradigm works, but you get the idea. With serverless, we leave more of the management of the architecture and the infrastructure to AWS, and we just implement the code that we want to run on Amazon. So I hope that was helpful, and I will see you in the next lecture.